You may not know this about me, but I'm also a certified sex therapist. And I often get questions from people who are thinking about opening up their relationship, or if they're single, questioning whether or not monogamous relationships are really for them. So today I'm going to give you an overview of ethical non monogamy and what that means. Welcome back to Savvy Psychologist. I'm your host, Dr. Monica Johnson. Every week on this show, I'll help you face life's challenges with evidence based approaches, a sympathetic ear, and zero judgment. Ethical non monogamy, or ENM, represents a broad spectrum of relationship styles that diverge from the traditional model of monogamy. E&M includes various forms of romantic or sexual relationships involving multiple partners, all with the full knowledge and consent of everyone involved. This practice emphasizes honesty, communication, consent, and mutual respect, challenges conventional norms, and offers an alternative approach to fulfilling human connections. In recent years, EM has garnered increased interest and acceptance, fueled by shifting societal attitudes and greater visibility through media and academic research. Today, I'm going to get into some of the intricacies of EM, exploring its various forms, principles, benefits, and challenges, alongside insights from psychological research. This will not be an exhaustive look at E&M, just the quick and dirty. Let's begin by getting a general understanding of ethical non monogamy. Ethical non monogamy encompasses several distinct relationship styles, each with its own dynamics and rules. Some of the most common forms include polyamory. So, polyamory is engaging in multiple romantic relationships simultaneously, with the knowledge and consent of all parties. Polyamorous individuals often prioritize deep emotional connections and long term commitment. Polyamory can be hierarchical, meaning prioritizing one relationship over others, or non hierarchical, viewing all relationships as equal. Within E&M, there's also a general type of open relationships. So, in an open relationship, a committed couple allows for sexual relationships with other people. These external relationships can be purely sexual or may involve emotional connections as well. Open relationships require clear boundaries and ongoing communication to ensure both partners feel secure and respected. Another type of E&M is also swinging. In this version, couples consensually engage in sexual activities with other couples or individuals, often in a social or party like setting. Swinging typically focuses on sexual exploration rather than forming deep emotional bonds with others. It emphasizes mutual consent and respect within the primary relationship. And the last type I'll talk about is relationship anarchy. In relationship anarchy, what's happening is that you're rejecting traditional relationship norms and hierarchies. Relationship anarchists structure their connections based on mutual desires and agreements without predefined roles. This approach prioritizes autonomy and personal growth. Now let's hop into some research highlights on ethical non monogamy. Many people who lack understanding of this relationship style assume that it must be more unhealthy, that jealousy is always a huge issue, and that those in E&M relationships are incapable of commitment or that it's just overall more stressful. In practice, as long as you don't engage in what I coin to be messy poly, most of this is entirely unfounded. Psychological research provides valuable insights into the dynamics, benefits, and challenges of E&M. Studies have explored various aspects, including relationship satisfaction, communication, jealousy, and overall mental health. When it comes to relationship satisfaction and communication, research indicates that individuals in E&M relationships often report high levels of relationship satisfaction. A 2017 study found that people in consensual non monogamous relationships reported similar or higher levels of relationship satisfaction compared to those in monogamous relationships. This satisfaction is largely attributed to the emphasis on open communication and negotiation, which fosters trust and intimacy. Effective communication is a cornerstone of E&M. Another 2017 study highlighted that individuals in non monogamous relationships often engage in more frequent and open discussions about their needs, boundaries, and emotions. The transparency helps prevent misunderstandings and enhances emotional connection. When we look at managing jealousy, the first thing that I want to say is jealousy is a natural emotion that can arise in any relationship, including E&M. However, individuals practicing E&M often develop strategies to manage and mitigate jealousy. Research done in 2014 found that polyamorous individuals commonly use techniques such as compersion, which is feeling joy when a partner experiences happiness with another person, self reflection, and communication to navigate jealous feelings. A 2013 study revealed that people in consensual, non monogamous relationships report lower levels of jealousy compared to those in monogamous relationships. This difference is attributed to the normalization of discussing jealousy openly and the development of coping mechanisms that prioritize emotional well being. And in regard to mental health and well being, E&M can have positive effects on mental health and well being. A study done in 2014 found that individuals in consensual non monogamous relationships reported lower levels of psychological distress and higher levels of sexual satisfaction compared to those in monogamous relationships. This finding suggests that autonomy and freedom associated with E&M can contribute to overall well being. Furthermore, E&M communities often provide social support and validation, which can enhance mental health. Research in 2021 highlighted that belonging to E&M communities fosters a sense of belonging and acceptance, reducing the feelings of isolation and stigma. If you're thinking about opening up your relationship or simply single and considering E&M, it's important to understand the principles and practices of ethical non monogamy. I don't allow messy poly on my watch. And that's exactly what you're doing if you're not being intentional and actively implementing these types of principles and practices. Ethical non monogamy is built on several key principles that differentiate it from non consensual or unethical forms of non monogamy, such as infidelity. The first principle is honesty. Open and honest communication is the foundation of E&M. All parties must be transparent about their feelings, desires, and boundaries. This openness builds trust and prevents misunderstandings. The next is consent. Consent is paramount in E&M. Everyone involved must willingly agree to the relationship structure and dynamics. Consent is ongoing and can be renegotiated as relationships evolve. The next principle is communication. So, effective communication is essential for navigating the complexities of E&M. Regular check ins, discussions about feelings, and active listening help maintain healthy relationships and address any issues that arise. The next principle is respect. Mutual respect ensures that all partners feel valued and heard. Respecting each other's boundaries, time, and emotional needs is crucial for maintaining harmony in E&M relationships. And I mentioned this one earlier. Compersion is a feeling of joy when witnessing a partner's happiness with another person. This is a complicated concept for most when introduced to E&M because in modern day society, we treat love like we're Christopher Lambert and Highlander, and there can be only one. And we are metaphorically willing to chop heads until we claim our prize. While not everyone may naturally feel compersion, cultivating this mindset can enhance connection and positivity within non monogamous relationships. It's okay if this feels aspirational. If you're working on creating space for your partner or partners and they're doing the same for you, it typically works in everyone's favor. While ethical non monogamy is not as problematic as most would think, it also prevents unique challenges. Some common issues might include number one, jealousy. Those in E&M relationships can experience jealousy, just like anyone else. Addressing jealousy requires self reflection, open communication, and strategies to manage and understand underlying causes. Regular discussions and reassurance can help mitigate jealous feelings. It's these communication strategies that help to reduce jealousy over time. And before you ask, jealousy is not necessarily a sign that someone shouldn't be in an E&M relationship. Jealousy is a complex emotion, and we can feel it sometimes even when we don't really want to. Think of it as a therapeutic topic in your next session or simply something to bring up to your partner. And in true E&M fashion, if you're following the principles outlined earlier, all parties will be heard and you will actively problem solve solutions that work for all involved. But if you're the type of person who experiences jealousy in a way that feels functionally impairing, you may want to address these issues in therapy before engaging in E&M. The next thing I'll talk about is time management. So sorry to burst your bubbles, but for many in E&M relationships, it's not simply popping bottles from one play party to another. In many situations, people are in full-fledged relationships with multiple people. Balancing multiple relationships demands effective time management and prioritization. Ensuring all partners feel valued and attended to requires careful scheduling and commitment. Google Calendar never worked so hard than the day it met polyamorous families with kids. So, the next challenge I'll talk about is social stigma. Despite growing acceptance, E&M still faces social stigma and misunderstanding. Individuals participating in E&M may encounter judgment or discrimination from those adhering to traditional monogamous norms. It's also important to note the complex dynamics of E&M. Managing multiple relationships can lead to misunderstandings or conflicts. Clear communication and established boundaries are crucial for navigating these dynamics. If you really want to engage in E&M, you have to be willing to put in the effort towards improving communication skills and increasing your emotional intelligence overall. Now, I want to close by reiterating and debunking some of the most common myths when it comes to E&M or polyamory. So the first one is E&M is just an excuse for cheating. Ethical non monogamy is based on mutual consent and transparency, unlike infidelity, which involves deceit and betrayal. The next myth is that E&M relationships are less committed. Many E&M relationships are deeply connected and require significant effort and communication to maintain. That's the opposite of lack of commitment. The next myth is that E&M is only about sex. So while sexual exploration can be a component, many E&M relationships prioritize emotional connections and long-term bonds. Hopefully you're more informed on this topic now. And whether you love 0, 1, or a dozen, as long as it's consensual and healthy, just know that I'm out here wishing you nothing but the best. What was something you learned about E&M today? Let me know. You can contact me via Instagram at KindMindPsych or via my email at psychologist@quickanddirtytips.com. The Savvy Psychologist is a Quick and Dirty Tips podcast. It's audio engineered by Steve Rickyberg with script editing by Brandon Getches. Our podcast and advertising operations specialist is Morgan Christensen. Our digital operations specialist is Holly Hutchings. And our marketing and publicity associate is Davina Tomlin. Follow Savvy Psychologist on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. That's all for this episode of Savvy Psychologist. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.